Hey everyone, CC Yamato here, and it's been a year since I uploaded anything manga related at all. Look, I definitely intended to actually keep up with this, but I think what we're going to go over here tonight is to show that there wasn't a lot to talk about with the manga. I mean, sure, okay, fine. Like, if you actually read it, you'd probably find that there was plenty to talk about, but I think it's more like the direction that Clear Card went in was so demoralizing that it actively contributed to me not wanting to talk about it. And I don't want to preface that by saying that it was bad. It's more like, it's just really not what I wanted to see in this series. It just started taking so long to get anywhere. It fell into kind of like a whirlpool of non-productiveness. The manga isn't the only reason that I was not doing manga video stuff or any CZ Yamato stuff, to be honest. I took a break. Part of it is, I left my job earlier this year and had to go get a new job. That was a big move for me. Took a lot of time. I wanted to kind of focus on that, make sure that I was good, because I have no delusions of becoming a streamer full time or supporting myself on this. This is not the lifestyle that I want. I don't want to be a manga guy. I want to be a Sakura guy, but that's not enough to build a career off of. But the point is that I wanted to make sure that, like, me in real life was secure before I started spending time doing this again. And now I am actually in a really good place. So I can actually come back. And I think the best thing to do is to talk about the manga that's been going on in the last year. Where to begin? Let's go ahead and do a quick, kind of very brief recap of where we kind of got to. The last major event that I was talking to was the date between Sakura and Shaoran, where they were at the gardens and they ran into Akiho and Kaito is finally revealed to Sakura to be a magic man. And he has to rewind time again, which is successful, but crucially, Sakura remembers the time rewind. So, cat's out of the bag, Kaito's cover is blown, and the series immediately doesn't really do much with that. The one thing that I appreciated, and I think it's actually covered here in this chapter. Yes, it's covered here in this chapter, where Sakura actually wants to take initiative. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, right, it's here. This is the first time I feel like, in the entire series, and this is one of my criticisms of Clear Card, is that Sakura doesn't feel like she's dictating the actions of her own series. For the first time, chapter 56, Sakura finally takes a stand and says that, she wants to take care of things. Like, this interaction here with Akiho is basically Sakura has gone ahead and decides that she wants to figure out what's up with Kaito, and she figures the way to do that is to go through Akiho, because at this point, Sakura doesn't know that there's anything up with Akiho. And the problem with that is that, for the most part, goes nowhere. I will tell you exactly why it goes nowhere. Because for the next 6 or 7 chapters, it's mostly just prep work for this play that they're doing. The Twin Alice's play. The next 6 chapters are basically setting up what are presumably the finale. And I say presumably, while knowing that Clamp have already announced that the series is ending at issue 14, and we are currently estimated 2 or 3 chapters into issue 14. So the manga is going to end next April-ish, give or take a month. So we're in the final stage. What I'm saying when it comes to the presumed finale is that we don't know if the finale is going to end at the play, or if it's going to be like the original Cardcaptor Sakura, where she does the final judgment with Ariel, and then there's a couple of chapters of epilogue, basically, that kind of tie up the series. Now, by the way, yes, I am using a website here to view these. Naturally, I do own these books. I own these books in 2 languages. And when the chapters come out, I actually watch them on the Clamp Fans YouTube channel, which is the official way to see the English releases of the chapters as they come out. And then a few weeks later, I usually get the Nakayoshi. So actually, I own these in 3 forms. So I'm just, I'm basically just justifying that I am using a website here, even though I own several copies of the series. It's just this is the most efficient way to talk about the manga and stream it at the same time. So anyway, chapter 57 is where I got to before I stopped making videos. And once again, we're basically every chapter for the next 5 or 6 chapters, we're getting the Twin Alice's story as Naoko wrote it. Although it's debatable if this is the Twin Alice's story from Naoko or if this is kind of related to Akiho's story. Generally, when the series has been doing like these kind of story time moments, you see here, up in the corner here, we have a cat, but Kaito's stories have had that weird like dragon thing from all the way back in like chapter 1 or 2. That seems to symbolize Kaito. This cat is symbolizing the Twin Alice's storyline. Now, this is the part where again, Sakura is progressive. She uses magic and shows this book, the Clockland book, to Kiro and Suppi. You know, 2 people who just maybe might know a thing or two about magical artifacts. This is a thing that should have been done dozens of chapters ago. And in terms of the timeline, it's been roughly a month, I guess. So, you know, cut some slack. It's a long time for us, but in terms of Clear Card, it's actually only been 1 or 2 months. They've switched over to the summer uniforms by this point, so it's actually probably early June, and the series started in April. It took her 2 months to decide, hey, you know what? Let me show this book to Kiro. Just maybe he'll have an opinion on it. You know, he's been around. He might know a thing or two, and he does. It turns out that Chloe owned this book, and he couldn't do anything with it. So it just kind of left him. Like he didn't have the power to work with the book or whatever. It just left. It's one of those things that even a great magician like Chloe Reed couldn't do anything with. So chapter 58, once again, we get more of the Clamp or the Alice in Wonderland, the 2 Alice's story. There you go. And you'll actually see that there are parallels between Alice's adventures and Sakura's challenges throughout Clear Card. So, you know, fighting the wind and water, that's Aqua and Gale. Fighting Sweets, that was a pier. And then trapped inside a bottle, that was Siege. And the story alludes to, you know, this cat fixing it each time, which is not entirely, well, I mean, at least in terms of Clear Card, that's not true. Sakura did fix all of those issues herself, unless it's going to be revealed near the end that actually Kaito has been like using time shenanigans to give her assists every single time. But that would be really weird. That's just a thing that that's a riff right now. Original riff. I do not think Kaito has been helping. Although I have had actually a theory that near the end of this, Sakura might get thrown back in time. And that's because there was a very early chapter where Sakura kind of like was possessed by an unknown intelligence. Back in the labyrinth, she just kind of magically knew the path out. And I'm really wondering if Sakura is gonna like get thrown back in time and have to aid herself through Clear Card. The reason I don't think that's gonna happen is simply because there's not enough time in the series left. There's only, again, 4-ish chapters, and Clamp doesn't accomplish a lot per chapter, so I don't know that that's actually going to be the thing. So this is all Naoko talking about the Twin Alice's story, which honestly there may actually be clues to how the series is going to end in this, but I do not want this series to end up being all a dream. I really don't. I am telling you right now, I might burn Clear Card if it all ends up being some kind of dream. Some kind of dream, or some kind of story, or if Kaito time rewinds the whole series to the end of it, or at the end, like back to the beginning, and makes it all not happen, I won't be happy. I really would not be happy. I don't think a lot of people would, because like that's not a type of ending that most people like. Just pat her head. Just just comfort the girl. It's fine. You can show humanity. It would make me not want you to die at the end of the series. I expect Kaito to die. Now here we have the part where Sakura is actually finally reasoning out who the cloaked figure is. She knows that it can't be Showdown because Showdown is taller than her now. And where she finally puts together the obvious solution that really we already had the answer to as readers, but readers always have more information. For the next few chapters, Sakura is also making these new cards, and you can see we have a first for a card that has more than one word on it. Here, this is the very first time we've ever had a two-word clear card, and it's very obviously based off of Naoko, which is a thing that I believe in the next few chapters that's finally going to be, like, Sakura's going to realize that very obvious detail. Now, moving on to this interaction, I actually liked this interaction initially. I don't like it now. But that's because the last few years have really made me question the validity of the message that Toya is going to have. Basically, what happens is that Sakura is now feeling very conflicted about what's going on, and the fact that she doesn't know what the truth is. And Toya's brilliant response basically comes down to, who cares what's true? You decide what's true. If it's ever up to me to decide what's true, then I always go with whatever I don't want to lose. Great sentiment, and if you have absolutely nothing to go on, okay, fine, live your truth in that just blindly pick one and hope it's actually the real answer. But it actually sounded nice, but you look at it again, it's kind of woefully irresponsible. So moving on to, what are we at now, 59, more Alice, Twin Alice's thing. And the reason they're giving us the Twin Alice's thing is because, as we'll find out later, the play, of course, gets interrupted in classic Cardcaptor Sakura style. I don't think in the entire series, original or clear card, a play has ever been completed. Just, it never happens. So Clamp still is, I guess, proud of their Twin Alice's story. So, of course, they want to give it to us here. So they've written it out here. They occupy the first pages of these several chapters with the Twin Alice story. You have Shaoran, of course, being his Shaoran self, of rejecting being in the lead, but people basically peer pressure him into doing it, even though he really just wanted to be backstage, not participating. And I feel you, Shaoran. I did acting. I tried. Terrible idea. You know what else is a terrible idea? Walking on the grass without your shoes on. Then moving on to the actual kind of like the story push of this chapter is Kiro and Supi are obviously discussing the book, and they're going to get interrupted because Momo is actually going to show up and interrupt them. They're actually having, for once, a decent conversation about what this book could mean, what could actually be going on. And then Momo just walks right in because she is far more powerful than either of them. They even mention that there's a barrier up that's supposed to be protecting them, and she just walks right through it. It's like there it is, right there. The barrier was weak and you didn't even lock the door. So it's like, I mean, yeah, sure, okay, fine. I guess you were just wanting people to walk in. Momo, on the other hand, she's independent. She doesn't serve a master. She serves herself. She's also the only one who has thumbs. Momo is a good design. I think if the series had really gone forward with a more traditional structure of having an actual villain, this would have been a cool villain. But Momo's not really overtly evil. She's not nice, but she's not evil. Now, moving on to the next chapter, she's actually saying, before Kaito can time rewind, because Kaito is meddling and everything, which apparently, even though she's very powerful, she can't stop him, or at least is bound by some rule to not interfere with him. She wants to at least give them something. Now, what is the something? We actually don't know, but what I think the something is the story that she's about to tell in the next chapter. But actually, as we can see here, they've inserted it. What we have before the next chapter is one of the short chapters that were added. Clamp took a few breaks this year and only put out very brief, like 4-page chapters for a couple of months. So one of them was this one. This is a flashback with newly born Sakura and Nadeshiko still being alive. So moving on to chapter 60 properly. This is the thing that I theorized that Momo was leaving for Kiro and Suppi, and it's this story about Kaito meeting Akiho's mother. This is actually a helpful story in terms of lore building because it establishes a couple of things. Like, it puts to rest the argument that, like, Kaito is somehow Akiho's father. He's definitely not the father. For one thing, he's far too young in this interaction to possibly be the father. Second, she's explicitly talking about another man. So, I don't think that was really a strong theory, or really a hard theory for anyone, but no, Kaito is not the dad. We get to at least, get a feel for her character, which is that she is very much not aligned with the rest of her clan, in that she is a good person. We know very well that the Squid clan that she's part of, named so because their hats look like squids, as you can see here. Yeah, they're mostly awful people. The rest of this chapter, or at least the rest of the story, is mostly just showing her trying to get Kaito to open up, because he's just a sad little introvert boy who has nothing to do with any kind of interaction with people, but she's just that kind of person who's like, I'm going to keep trying until you open up. I don't see the wide appeal of Choco Mint. I'm pretty sure, like, Clamp just, like, at some point they stopped writing a manga and just started needing an excuse to tell people what their likes are. And instead of using Twitter like a normal person, they decided to write a manga. I've enjoyed my time with the series, if for no other reason than I've just enjoyed looking at it, because the art has evolved so much from Clamp's earlier times. Like, it really shows 25 years of progress with them. Their backgrounds are better, their character compositing is better. There have been very few frames where I've seen, like, really weird proportions. They got rid of Clamp shoulders. This series looks great. That's basically the one thing about Clear Card that I have said unequivocally the entire time, is that the series looks great. Once again, going back to the comment that this series looks great, these splash pages on the chapters have always been good. You have Sakura and Akio here, then you have their mothers out in the background. Again, their artwork is great. Clamp are amazing artists. And we cut back. It's actually been a few chapters. I already kind of forgot about it. We cut back once again to Sakura and Akio in the dream world discussing. And I haven't commented on it, but this little wispy kind of flame thing has been showing up periodically. I think it's supposed to represent the magic inside Akiho, because it has popped up kind of leaking out of Akiho in some frames. There's been a time skip, actually. When I came up here and I said that, like, oh, I forgot that she was still in the dream, that's actually not the same sequence. I forgot. Between the last chapter and this chapter, there's actually been a time skip of about 4-ish months. They were in the middle of summer in the previous chapter 60, but here, 61, Fujitaka is dressed for winter, as is Sakura, and he's handing her a blanket, and you're going to actually see in the next pages here that, yeah, it's colder. It's September or October, and I know that because near, I believe, the end of this chapter, let's just skip ahead a little bit, they are in their, oh, no, I guess it's the next chapter, so I'll talk about it. The point is, they are actually in their winter uniforms by the end of this. So, we have in this chapter just another parallel chapter of Kaito talking to Akiho after Fujitaka is talking to Nadeshiko, and they're both talking to their respective girls about their respective mothers. You do get this interaction where it sounds like Kaito, at least to some degree, blames himself for what happened to Akiho, obviously, because he's the one who told them that she's like a blank book, she has no magic, though that's what inspired them to do whatever they wanted with her. So, he blames himself. It's his fault. And that's why once again, he's not really a villain in that sense. Like, he's trying to help Akiho. Just, like, there were probably better ways to do it. Right here at the end, we see Sakura make 2 new cards. And one of them is a card that obviously she probably should have made a few chapters ago, but this wouldn't be the first time that Clamp has forgotten to put a card at the end of a chapter. But you will see also, by the way, here, like I was saying in the previous chapter, they're back to wearing their winter uniforms. There's been about 4 months of time that jumped between chapter 60 and 61. I can appreciate, by the way, all of the Sakura Showdown moments that are in this series. Clamp spent 15 years milking the Xiaosaku ship. So it's great that they did not even bother with relationship drama in this series. This is not a series where they had to make them fight or make them doubt each other. They've always just been solidly a couple, which is great. It's something that, like, honestly was not needed. Like, there's enough going on in this series. We did not need to do that. You remember the whole thing about them not being able to touch each other? Sakura and Showdown not being able to touch each other or they get zapped? That's explained. That's finally explained. I will talk about it when we get there. And not particularly interesting. Although, we do get to this part where they start discussing how the nature of the clear cards is kind of different from the Clo cards, where the Clo cards were, as you see Kiro saying, the Clo cards are all spirits and critters and stuff. The new cards, they're similar to, like, phenomena. They're things. Choice, kindness, promise. They're all, like, well, I mean, some of them are more like in the class clear, like repair. Like, to be honest, a Clo card could totally have been a repair card. And now we get to the last part here. The clear mirror card is just clear. It's gone. It's been stolen. By who? I think we can guess. It was by Kaito. I'm pretty sure it was by Kaito. I'm remembering this as we go here, but I'm pretty sure that mirror was also stolen by Kaito, because that sneaky fellow just, he's really good at what he does. Chapter 63. We're finally here. We're finally at the school play. And we get to play some of the classic bits like Sonomi and her bodyguards and / film crew. We also have everyone show up here to participate. It's basically the second movie again. And for a middle school production, they do, well, man, they definitely go above and beyond. And you will actually see that to some degree in the next chapters. But I'm skipping this part because it is just performing the play. Here we go. We're skipping to the actual story element where Kaito is here, ready to make trouble in a brand new costume, by the way. And this is the first time I think where we've seen Kaito wearing, like, well, maybe not the first time we've seen him wearing predominantly white, but it is definitely a difference for him to actually be in a white costume instead of a black one. But you can see his little dragon pattern here. Here at the bottom. This may kind of be the dragon pattern here as well. Can't really tell what's going on here at the back. And we know that what Kaito is planning to do is cause trouble, but spoiler alert, this part here that is the cliffhanger for the chapter, that's not Kaito. That, as revealed in chapter 64, was all them. That was all middle school theater. They planned that. What is the budget on this middle school play? I don't know. But that was all them. They did it all conventionally. As all of the magical characters are starting to sense that something is probably wrong. Like, I don't know. I would say that Kaito is leaking his magical aura out, but as we keep establishing throughout the series, he's actually really undetectable. As much as this seems like, crazy nonsense going on, this is actually all still the play. It's the play right until this part, because as you can see up here, where all the magical characters are starting to be a little suspicious, there are some shenanigans going on here, and it'll be clear in the next chapter exactly what said shenanigans are. And upon rereading it, even I'm seeing something that I kind of missed before, but I think what you're going to find out is that, as you can see, even Sakura is confused here, and I'm not... Originally, when I read this, I thought she was just acting properly, but she's not quite acting properly, because what we're getting here is that now Kaito is influencing the stage play. Up at the top here, like I was discussing, up at the top, it was revealed that that initial switch was for Sakura, or was done by them. That was planned by a bunch of middle schoolers. But in that big transition, Kaito has moved himself into the plot, because this is not part of the middle school plot. And as she's still doing the play, because as you're going to see in the next chapters, Sakura is kind of like magically mesmerized into continuing the play. So she's continuing. And then they're going to walk through a portal, I think, near the end here, as they do, right here. So the play went from being conventional to magical. At some point, Kaito started interacting with the play and changing the rules. And so, because of that, now the magical characters actually get to do something. Yukito gets to use Yue's powers, but we also display something here. Toya has time powers. Where did those come from? Well, you do remember, way long ago it was stated that Toya's powers were kind of coming back, and they weren't going into any detail about what his powers were doing. Well, now they've come back, and it turns out that Toya also has the ability to stop time. And by using, I'm guessing, Yue's powers, he's actually able to sustain this. Time is frozen. Time for Xiaoran to jump into action. No way for the rest of the magical characters to participate. Here we are. We're moving into the final, like the real final act of Clear Card. And it's going to take place inside this new world that they traveled into when they went through that gate. Wow, I'm assuming this was all stencils to get all these stairs in. Now, in this world, we actually see Sakura running around and seeing all of her cards. This is Mirage. Mirage was actually an anime-exclusive card that made its way into the manga, a very rare transition for CCS, but we also have Reflect and we have Snooze. Over here, here's Gale, then Aqua and Blaze fighting in the background. This is a very chaotic world. This is Spiral in the background. I think the entire world is made out of Labyrinth. So while Sakura is having trouble here, Xiaoran is running around in this world. I believe the implication is that, Kaito's magic and this world are trying to kick Xiaoran out. But, Xiaoran has got to use that training and actually stay in the game here. So they keep going throughout this chapter about how everything that's going to happen is based off of what Sakura chooses. And it's strongly implied that since Sakura, as we'll see, is kind of under hypnosis here, that Kaito has been kind of trying to force Sakura to decide what he needs her to decide. Which is a thing that you'd think he could have just done from the beginning. Like, yes, they talk a lot about how Sakura is strong. She has a lot of untapped power, and it will eventually get to the point where she can't control it. But that's the thing, Sakura has no training. She may be powerful, but she's completely unskilled. Honestly, Kaito probably could have forced the result he wanted at any time. He just didn't, because Clamp needed the series to go on for as long as it has. What are we at? 6 years? 6 years, 14 books? Probably could have wrapped this up a little more. When they get around to doing the anime, I expect this sequence will look amazing. I very much look forward to when this becomes animated. We're moving on. Xiaoran has found Sakura. In theory. What's this? He is able to grab her hand. He has saved the girl. It's not shocking us. It's because it's not Sakura. It's Mirror. And I believe this is the Cloakard mirror. This is the one that was stolen back in like chapter 40-something, 50-something. This is the one that went missing a while ago. Let's talk about this. He grabs her hand. He notices that it's not shocking her. That's how he knows that this isn't Sakura. Aside from the fact that she immediately turns into Mirror. We're finally, in the next chapter, going to get an explanation of why they've been getting shocked this whole time. But let's not get distracted by that. Because, remember, the previous chapter, we saw that Showdown flew off with Mirror. So, what's going on here? Sakura is with Showdown again. Is she, though? Is she really? Because, well, if Mirror was looking like Sakura when Showdown met her, and there are 2 Mirror cards that we established a few chapters ago, the clear card Mirror is gone, you might think that perhaps this is not Showdown. This is a much quieter Showdown. This is the Showdown playing the part of the cat. Like, this is where once again you have there is an element of Kaito is forcing the play to continue, and thus Sakura is kind of brainwashed into keeping the play going, and as such, this Showdown, who is not the real Showdown, we're just going to establish that right now, he's playing the part of the cat in order to keep the illusion going. We finally get an explanation of why they were getting shocked in the first place. Now, a long time ago, I made the theory that Sakura is the reason why they were getting shocked, that she was subconsciously doing it, that it was because she had trust issues with Showdown and she was subconsciously pushing him away. That would have been an interesting character drama issue, right? That's not what actually happened. It turns out Showdown's mom put a curse on him. She effectively put a shock collar on him so that at some point, as she explains here, he would need to be able to immediately tell the difference between the real and fake Sakuras. So she put a curse on him to shock himself, to get shocked every time he touches the real Sakura. It's amazingly simple, but it's such a letdown. Like, in terms of like what could have been character drama or something, turns out to just be, nah, I just gave him the cheat code so when an issue happens where he needs to be able to know who's the real Sakura, he'll have, all I have to do is just, touch them and be like, oh, this one shocks me, so this is the real one. We're not going to get one of those, classic movie standoffs where it's just like, which one do I shoot? It's like it's just like, I don't need to figure it out. I have the answer built in. My mom put a curse on me. It's such a letdown, despite how enthusiastic I am about it. It's a real letdown. It's not great. So moving on to this next part here, we actually have Kaho contributing to the conversation about how Kaito rewinds time. And this harkens back to a theory that I've actually had throughout the series, that we've seen Kaito rewind incidents that go poorly for him. We've seen a few of those. How many of those incidents have we not seen? Because we're like the characters in the series who are affected by the time magic, who up until this point didn't know when time rewinds were happening. So I'm wondering how many rewinds have happened in the background that we aren't privy to. How many other near misses throughout the clear card adventures have happened that Kaito has rewound and we, the audience, just aren't privy to it? So back to the Clockland garden. Sakura is just being walked through, and at this point, obviously, Sakura should know that this isn't part of the play. But again, Sakura's not in her right mind. And we can actually see that her eyes aren't doing that normal anime thing where they're just kind of glossed over. They're still her eyes. They're still drawn right. But it becomes more apparent as things go on that Sakura is that Sakura is confused, that she is affected by the magic of this world, possibly Kaito's magic, and she is just being led through until Kaito gets what he wants. But we see here, I believe, that these clear cards, these are the clear cards, and they are also trying to give Sakura hints. The promise that they made being the conversation that Sakura and Yukito had many chapters ago. You have a grumpy, not Shaoran, not happy that people are trying to interfere with the incidents here. See, I believe that's what this is that like he's kind of looking back here and then suddenly Promise is gone. And he's like, move along, let's go. I have things I want to do. Chapter 67, a lovely splash screen between the two mirrors, the original Clo mirror and the clear card mirror. Now we're back here. We skip back to Shaoran, the real Shaoran, and Mirror. We've seen that Shaoran, while he was unconscious, was very close to being pushed through or pushed out of the world again. Now we have the clear cards. We have Flight helping them to get back, because again the clear cards are helping Shaoran get to Sakura so that he can save the day. Because in Cardcaptor Sakura clear card, we may not see Sakura save the day so much. We're giving a lot of screen time to Shaoran, even though Shaoran had a series. It was called Tsubasa. So cutting back to Akiho Sakura's story, now we actually do see that perhaps Sakura's eyes have started to gloss over. See, because she starts to say Akiho's name, but then she gets a little zappy. And we see that not Shaoran, who I believe is the one who's doing the zaps, is trying to push her along. There we go. See, there's the glossy eyes. Now we see her like fully giving into whatever this magic is. Just going through the script here. Now it's kind of hard to tell because Akiho's eyes aren't glossed over. It's hard to tell if she's also being controlled by Kaito, or whether she is in control, or whether she's sort of like how Sakura has been earlier, where she's just kind of like, she's kind of being gently pushed along and just running this like it's the play. Whereas now, like, Sakura is being forced to play along with the story. Now we have this dialogue here where we see Momo is actually she is at least part of what's controlling the narrative here, and we have the reveal that yes, this has been Kaito in disguise since a few chapters ago they switched. So Kaito has been in the form of Shaoran, and as we can see, he's been trying to push along the story and get Sakura to do ultimately what he finally wants, which I've said it before tonight, we still don't know. We still don't actually know what Kaito's ultimate plan is. We still don't know. Because in typical Clamp fashion, it's going to be info dumped on us at the end. So back outside, we actually see that Yukito is not fully capable of using Yue's magic yet, so Yue has to take over for him, which is good. It's good that Yue gets to actually participate, as well as Ruby Moon gets to participate because she hasn't gotten to do much. And then we also get the fun little moment where Toya actually says his Sauron's full name. That's nice. He gets to give him a modicum of respect. Moving on, next chapter 68. I believe this is as far as we've been able to go. Yes, this is it. This is the last chapter. Great splash page. It's based off of the scene from the anime, although it happens in the manga too. Like, look, just enjoy the pretty art, okay? Let's go. Like, next chapter, 68. So we're here once again. We actually have a little bit of a reprise of Momo's speech from chapter, I believe it was 50, where she sent Sakura on that mind-bending trip through an alternate world where she didn't exist, asking her once again, what is happiness to you? It's kind of seemingly mocking her, like Sakura's motto about how everything will be all right. Now, Sakura is once again, we continue that she is under the influence of Momo's power and Kaito's power, pushing her through this narrative because, and I'm not sure this is really the play's narrative at this point. This is the story within the Clockland book. However, it's kind of been strongly implied that the Clockland story and the Twin Alice's story are sort of the same story to some degree. So how Naoko learned it, I'm not sure has ever really been explained. But that's sort of how it is. But the point is that they're here in the story, continuing to be pushed through. Not Shaoran, i.e. Kaito, chastises Momo for giving hints to Sakura. So it once again, it really seems to push the narrative that Kaito and Momo have different objectives in this whole ordeal. And I think it's more like they both want to protect Akiho. It's just that they have very different approaches they're kind of united on a similar objective, but they clearly have very different ideas of how to achieve said objective. Now here we go again, we see that Akiho has forgotten her own name. Like, Sakura knew the name until it was kind of forced out of her head, but Akiho has forgotten it because she is fully under the control of the magic. It's always been unclear exactly how resistant to magic Akiho may or may not be, considering that she is a blank vessel. So what we see here, though, I think, is that even though Akiho is being controlled by the book, like, there's still like that. There's still Akiho in there. There's still free will in there. They're just like there's free will in Sakura, and they're kind of fighting against it. That she's giving Sakura the hints about like what her actual name was, and then bam, there it is, Sakura. Because here is real Shaoran cutting through the pages of the book. He does have his sword. That's a sword, right? That is definitely a sword swing. So he has, yep, there it is, right there, one sword. And now we have Shaoran versus Shaoran, the fight we've always wanted. We have Kaito over here on the left attempting to push Shaoran out of the book, but Shaoran was using Mirror to be a decoy so that he could sneak in. Clever lad. The White Knight has come to save his woman. Again, I've felt like Sakura hasn't gotten to do enough for herself in the series, but it's not like getting an assist at the end is not okay for heroes. It's perfectly okay. Heck, it's how Sakura got through the final judgment the first time. She got an assist. So Sakura getting an assist is fine, because we're going to go into the next chapter, which is not released yet, but now Sakura has finally, she's been snapped out of the magic a bit, and, Kaito has cast off his disguise, revealing the clear mirror. We don't know exactly when he stole that, other than just, at the end of chapter, 66, 67, a clear card mirror was just blank. He grabbed it at some point. But now it's time, probably, to see Kaito and Shaoran face off. Which, I don't think that's actually going to happen, because Clamp doesn't do a whole lot of those kinds of fights. This isn't a Showdown series. I don't think they're really going to... They're going to probably fight a little bit, but Sakura is probably going to stop them in the next chapter. So let's talk about where this is probably going to go. The next chapter is 69. And again, we have probably 4-ish chapters left. So we're probably going to end around chapter 72. I imagine that this fight that is being teed up here, this fight's not going to happen. There's not going to be a real Kaito versus Shaoran brawl. Maybe in the anime there will be a little bit of a brawl, because that's the sort of thing that fits animation better. For manga, it's not really going to work out. But probably they're going to attempt to go at it, and Sakura is going to stop them. And then Sakura is going to do an impassioned plea to Kaito to stop being Kaito. She's going to plead with him to just let her, just ask for help. Let her help him without being controlled. Again, I've said it over and over that he could just ask, and I don't think Kaito wants to do it this way because he's evil. I think he legitimately just does not know another way to operate other than just controlling everything. He is a control freak. He needs to dictate everything. That's why he switched with Shaoran, to pull Sakura through this narrative and force her through a story to get to an end result that he needs. But I think what it's going to come down to is that Sakura is just going to actually somehow get through to him, and or it won't even necessarily be Sakura. It'll be a combination of Sakura and Akiho. The girls are going to have to talk their men down. I think it's going to kind of be a combined front between Sakura and Akiho to talk them down. But I don't want to get too much into speculation because I'm generally always wrong. But if I say that there isn't going to be a Kaito versus Shaoran fight, there definitely will be, because that's always how my predictions go. They always go the opposite of what I predict is going to happen. So maybe there definitely will be a Kaito Shaoran throwdown. The thing is like, the odds are still heavily skewed against Shaoran. He has mirror, he has a set of wings, and a sword. And Kaito has access to all of his magic still. Like, the cards are definitely stacked in Kaito's favor here, so that's why I don't think there's really going to be a fight. But that's where we are at the end of chapter 68. Thanks everyone for sticking with me and giving support to see more chapters. I'm sorry that it took me this long to get back to this. It's been kind of a demotivating year, but the series is almost done. Like I got into this process thinking it was going to be a sprint, and it was a much longer marathon than I thought it was going to be, and I guess I needed a little bit of a break from it, but we're so close to the end now that we can I can see this through, especially if I maybe do it in this format. Let's just say that when the chapters drop, expect to see me do a few more of these, because this was actually pretty fun to do. I'll see you at the beginning of January. Thanks for watching. CC Yamato out.